Back to pass goes Stabler. Looking. He runs. He's at the 15. He's thrown. It is a touchdown Raiders. Touchdown Raiders. When you have great coaches, then after you have great coaches, you get great players. You have a great organization, and you tell them one thing: just win, baby.
Get fired up. I ain't playing. I'm telling you, get fired up. Stand up. Get out of that chair, moron. It's time for the Dagos. That's right, Murph and Sonny from the Dago Dungeon. You got it right here, live.
Welcome in to another fantastic episode of Raiders Repertoire. I am your host, Sonny Dago, in the Northwest Icelandic cold Oregon at the moment. We are under a hellacious 2.5 inches of snow. The whole world's going crazy up here. School's been canceled. I haven't worked in 2 days, but I'm ready to talk about my third favorite topic in life, which is the Oakland Raiders. And with me in studio, as always, is my first favorite cousin. Although lately he's been my third favorite cousin, because this is our third attempt to do a podcast, and hopefully won't be erased. Murph, how you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, Sonny. Thanks for having me back in the Dago Dungeon, representing from the Dago Dungeon South, of course. And yes, if a podcast is performed but not recorded,
twice,
is it truly a podcast?
Twice.
Or is it just a conversation amongst family members? Yeah, twice. This is show 11.3 for those that are keeping score.
So this is our third attempt at recording a podcast, as Josh was just saying, for the 11th episode of Raiders Repertoire. The first one was probably our best show to date, right, that we didn't record. The second time we recorded, which was Tuesday night, was by far and away 10 times even better than that previous show we did. I mean, probably would have put us on the map long term. This show, it looks like all things are a go as far as recordings go, so it probably will just be mediocre. It's usually how it works, right?
I would think so, and I know that I sound a little mediocre, being that I'm coming to you via an Xbox Live headset and an iPad, since my computer has completely taken a dump at this point, which is what caused the havoc that cost us the first two 11.1 and 11.2. So I apologize for my audio quality, but we'll get this thing figured out here hopefully soon. Either that or I'm going to throw this thing out the window, one or the other. Or I might just jump out with it.
Your computer is doing what Derek Carr did against Kansas City 1 week ago. Tonight is the anniversary of that hellacious game. But, Murph, we're on to bigger and better things now. We are called the Dagos. Our podcast is Raiders Repertoire, Riportare. You can find us on iTunes, Podcast Addict, Stitcher, all of your podcasting places you go on the interwebs. We are there. And it is Thursday night as we record this. Currently, the Rams and Seahawks are playing. You know what the score of the Rams-Seahawks game is, by chance, there, Murph?
I do. It's Seattle 17, Rams 3. Another defensive struggle like they typically will play to.
You know, I was hoping the Rams were going to win because Jeff Fisher finally got fired and stuff like that. But, you know.
Gosh, that would tell me that wasn't a long time coming. How did that guy even make it as far as he did? And how goofy is it that they announced a contract extension 2 weeks prior and then they can't? This is Mr. I'm not going to go 7-9 or 8-8 again on Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
That guy's been 7-9 and 8-8 his entire career, except for the freaking handful of years he let Steve McNair be Steve McNair, and he almost won a Super Bowl.
Well, but isn't like his father-in-law the owner of the Rams or something like that? Like he's family invested in the Rams. It seems like that's kind of what I was reading on Twitter the other day.
You ain't that close. When you're 4-9, we ain't that close.
But I mean that gives reference to the old, you know, we'll give you a contract extension, but we got to fire you. So you know, thanks, Dad.
Yeah.
Thanks, Pop.
Thanks, Pop.
Thanks, Pop. That was great. All right, Josh, so much has happened since we last recorded a podcast. Not since we've done a podcast. Not too much has happened since we recorded one. But since we actually had one go to town, I just want to come right off the bat and say we are not going to talk about anything related to the I don't even know how, Voldemort. We'll just call it Voldemort, okay? No Voldemort discussion here. I want to talk strictly about the Raiders and the on-field product and what's happening. Because here's the bottom line. Worrying about tomorrow never adds anything to today. tomorrow has enough worries of its own. Let's figure all that out in the offseason. Right now, in this moment, I want us to remember something here. What's the Raiders' record right now, Josh?
They'll be 10-3.
The Raiders are 10-3 right now. And that's
amazing.
Yes, that is truly amazing. When you think about the fact that when you add the total wins of 2014 and 2015 together, Josh, do you know how many wins that totals for the Raiders?
Gosh, I don't know. What was that? It got to be 11, huh?
Nope, it was 10.
10?
When you combine the
7-4?
7-9, 3-14, 3-13, 2014.
Oh, 3. Oh, I was thinking 4. Oh, no, sorry.
When you combine.
Gee, do I got to turn in my Raider fan card now? Because I'm.
Well, no, you got to turn that in because you don't live in Oakland, apparently.
Oh,
but
yeah.
2014.
Hey, was that the team that lost 10 games in a row?
With Derek Carr as starting quarterback.
10 games in a season?
This is true.
Jeez.
So,
yeah,
I mean.
And you want to be pissy, but people want to be mad about stuff. Please, cover yourselves.
Carr sucks. Musgrave. But this is what I'm saying. And I know we've kind of talked about this twice already, but you can't. We can't talk about it enough. Apparently. Apparently, we can't talk about it enough. Because the Raiders, and maybe this is why. Maybe this is the big guy upstairs. Maybe this was him cursing us, saying, "You idiots don't realize, right? This is a long time coming. This is a long time coming.
I'm gonna make you talk about it 3 times in a row.
Yeah. We're gonna make you realize the Raiders have 10 wins in one season 3 times over. Because this is literally the 3rd time we've talked about it on a podcast. Hoping this one gets recorded. 2014, 3-13. 2015, 7-9. They are 10-3. They win and they're in. It is December. It is week 15 in the NFL. The Raiders are relevant. They're not only relevant, they are potentially number 1 seed relevant in the AFC. This season wasn't supposed to happen right now, Murph. This was supposed to happen 2 years from now. Our window is just slowly being opened if you think about it, right? Last year, 7-9, we had a lot of hope. It was like, all right, we can get this going. Max stepping up his game. Carr looked a lot better. Cooper looked a lot better. This season wasn't supposed to go down right now, but now it is, right? If you look at, like, offensive rank in 2014, we were 31st in the league. Last year, we were 17th. This year, in regards to points, we are 2nd in the league, right? I mean, everything has been going up and up and up. And, I mean, what could happen next year, right? But let's focus on right now. We're 10-3, but why is it when we look at Twitter, why is it when we go on Facebook forums, why is it when we go on Reddit, everybody all they want to talk about is something they have no control over, and that won't even happen for potentially 2 more years. Yet it's like Raiders can't be happy. Do you know how to be a happy Raiders fan, Josh? Is that not? I mean, what's the deal?
Well, I do. I know how to be a happy Raider fan, but I think that it's conditional behavior. I think that we've had so many years of what's the word I'm looking for? Futility. We've had so many years of futility, 14 of them to be precise, that it's conditioned behavior. Because not only were we those futile seasons, but we were the most pathetic franchise in all of sports. Not just football, not just the NFL, but in all of sports. Yeah. They were the laughing stock. They were the laughing stock of the sports environment, and it didn't matter where you went, who you talked to. It was somebody making fun of Al Davis because he was out of touch, or because he was old, or because he drafted fast players, and your team sucks, and you hadn't made the playoffs, and the Broncos have won more Super Bowls, or now tied, and blah blah. It was constant, and the only thing we ever had to fall back on as fans was scoreboard, right? Yeah. Well, yeah, but we won 3 Super Bowls. It was like anytime a Chargers fan would pipe up, or a Chiefs fan would pipe up, or around where I live, the Titans fans would pipe up. Anytime somebody would pipe up, the only argument we had was, well, scoreboard. But then what was their comeback? Well, yeah, but at least I'm talking about a team that was good as long as I've been alive.
Yeah, you know what I mean? You haven't won in 30 years. Yeah,
exactly. You know what I mean? So it was like, but, so yeah, it's really nice to be able to now, kind of represent a little bit about a team that's not only good, but a team that's relevant. But that said, because it was so long and such a, that lengthy history of bad play, that, when something, I think we've already been used to being beaten up, that when something does go wrong, immediately we get defensive, immediately we overreact, It's Fire Musgrave. It's Carr's not the answer. It's, what's Ken Norton doing? We need to go get somebody to play middle linebacker. It's like you get this freak out because we've had so many things go wrong for so long that now when things are going right, and when that one little thing does still go wrong, it's like we get all flustered, we get all fired up. And look, the lost Voldemort thing. All right, look, I know it's the 900-pound gorilla in the room, and it stinks that we gotta deal with it. But yeah. But let's not focus on it. I know it's hard not to, but let's focus on the positive stuff, man. Like we've been dwelling in misery for so long. Like, don't let that overcome the fun and the excitement around this year, because there's just too much fun stuff still there to be had. That don't let it taint this season, man. Like, look, as of right now, as of today, as of show 11.3, they are and will be the Oakland Raiders. That's it. And they're darn good. They're potentially going to be the number 1 seed, potentially the number 2 seed, still going to have that home field playoff game, potentially AFC West champions, potential MVP candidates on the team, a lot of Pro Bowlers. Like, look at all the good stuff that's gone. We have a healthy organization. We have a great general manager. We've had one of the most successful drafts a couple of years ago, potentially all time. Mm-hmm. Like, we'll see where it goes. I'm not going to get too far ahead of ourselves here. But when you look at the amount of times that multiple Hall of Famers have been drafted in 1 year, pretty short list. Mm-hmm. Now, listen, I'm not putting Derek Carr and Khalil Mack in the Hall of Fame just yet. But you're going to tell me that they couldn't be there one day? I think it's certainly possible if their careers continue to trend the way that they are. So there's so much good. There's so much good. The Coliseum, man, we were there this year. We saw them play at home against Denver. It's rocking.
Spiritual.
Raider Nation is fired up.
Spiritual.
Oh, it was spiritual, right? They're fired up more now in person than look, we didn't go to games in the 70s. I don't know what it was like. I don't know what it was like in the LA Coliseum in 1982, but I know that out of the times that I've been to Raider games in my life, and heck, any Oakland sporting event, Warriors games, A's games, you name it, that Coliseum not this past Sunday, but this past Sunday night game that we attended, I'd never seen it so fired up. I'd never seen that many people in unison, all dedicated and focused on one single goal, and that was to cheer on our team, Raider Nation, in full effect as we went out and whipped the donk. So whatever that magic was, let's capture that. Let's keep that. Put that thing away in your heart a little bit as we progress through the rest of this year. And don't let the haters, don't let any of the skeptics and the procrastinators, not procrastinators, but the projectors, people that, and I'm going to let you talk, I promise. But, don't let all that stuff, everybody can pretend like they know something. But you know what? You're not sitting inside, the chambers there in Alameda. You don't know what's going on in Mark Davis's office. You can read the news just like the rest of us can. You can read the reports.
You can talk to reporter. Reporters don't know it either. Reporters are reporting on what they hear.
That's it. So don't let the vocal minority sway you away from the positivity that's going on with our football team. All right, I'm done.
The Raiders are 10-3. They have what is now being touted as a potential all-time great in Khalil Mack. He's on a streak of 8 straight games with a sack. He has 5 forced fumbles. I think he has 3 in a row in 3 games in a row. You have Amari Cooper, who also could be a Hall of Famer potentially one day. You have Derek Carr, a franchise quarterback. You have a head coach in Jack Del Rio. You have stability in the coaching staff. You have stability at quarterback. You have stability at wide receiver. You have stability all over the field, which is something we aren't too familiar with over the last few years. And I think something you said is, I don't think we know how to be this way. I think we've been conditioned to suck and to have to justify it. And this season was unexpected, and because it was unexpected, we weren't prepared to handle it. Hence the world's falling apart after we lose to the Chiefs. I mean, and that was a bad loss, right? We didn't look good. We sucked. But we've played 3 primetime games this season. Broncos, Texans on Monday night, Broncos Sunday night, and then Chiefs on Thursday. And we're 2-1. We're 2-1 of those, right? So that's what you want. You want a better, we got a good record on those night games. Carr's going to have a bad game. Yeah, we get it. But all that to say, the Raiders are still 10-3. It doesn't matter how they won the 10 games or how they lost the 3 games. They are 10-3. And in the NFL, the only thing that matters is your record. That is it. And
so if I'd have told you coming into this season that the Raiders were going to be 10-3 at this point and flirting with an AFC West title, considering where the team had come from, would that have been an acceptable position for them? Would that have been surprising? Would that have been where you expected them to be? Or would that have been falling short of expectations if I'd have told you that prior to week 1 of the season?
Well, I would have asked you what was their last loss like, how'd they look on national television, and I would have said, where are they at in negotiations with the future stadium? Then I would have been happy. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't want to call people dumb, but I'm saying, dudes, enjoy this. Like, you need to enjoy this. This don't happen very often. In fact, it has been 208 games since the Raiders were relevant, essentially, right? You had the brief stints of 8-8 back in 2010 and 2011. You had the Jason Campbell fresh start, then he got hurt. It's been 208 games before this season since the Raiders have had a winning record. When you factor in that they will make the playoffs this year, because all you have to do is win 1 game, when they make the playoffs this year, it will have been 224 games since that fatal day against the Buccaneers and our old coach, John Gruden. 224 games. Murph, what I think it is I think it's, and I use this analogy a lot with the kids I work with, when you go through trauma, you don't know how to, you carry this filter with you, right? So it's like being sunburnt, if you will. If you had a really bad sunburn on your back, I mean, like really bad, right? You fell asleep at the beach, stuff like that, right? I came up to you. I was like, "Hey, Josh."
Or you mean if you had your shirt off outside for more than 8 seconds there,
yeah.
Ginger?
Yeah, something like that, right? Well, not as Ginger as
Wait,
Ryan.
well, now your back hair would protect you.
That's true. Back hair would protect me. If Ryan, our cousin Ryan, the true Ginger.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Who was a Broncos fan but bought a Raiders shirt for the game against the Broncos. That was pretty epic. Anyway,
he was afraid to walk into Mordor wearing Denver stuff, which I don't blame him.
We overly scared him. Then he went to the bathroom. Then he realized it was a good decision that he wore that Raiders shirt. Anyway, so if you have a really bad sunburn on your back, somebody comes up and says, "Hey, what's going on?" You know, you do the handshake, you pull them in close, give the pat on the back, right? Somebody has no idea, the bro hug. No idea you have a sunburn. They give you the bro hug, and you have a sunburn. What's your reaction going to be? You're going to be,
hey!
Yeah, you're pissed, right? You're like, yo, what the F, bro? Get off me, you know? Versus, if you don't have a sunburn and they bro hug you, it's all good. And I think the Raiders, the Raidernation, the fans in Oakland, the fans everywhere, we have this intense sunburn of Jamarcus Russell, of Kerry Collins, of signing an old, broken Javon Walker, of John Gruden kicking our crap out of us in the Super Bowl, of Al Davis.
Bill Callahan not even changing the game plan away from the offense that the other coach invented.
Of the center, Barrett Robbins?
Robbins, yeah,
going crazy.
AWOL, going bananas.
I mean, Terrell Pryor, the failed Terrell Pryor experience. Jason Campbell getting broken, our hopes dashed. Demarius Moore not working out.
About can I get a Darren McFadden Lisfranc injury?
Yes.
How many years did I knew more about Lisfranc than I ever expected I would, just because of that guy.
You know, Tom Cable punching somebody on the sideline.
How about Al on the overhead projector when he dismissed Lance Kiffin?
Oh my! The letter on national TV, right? I mean, we got third degree trauma. We got third degree sunburns, right? I mean, we obviously I'm not going to belittle trauma and the effects of it, when you come from a hurt family and stuff like that. But in regards to a football sense, we've been traumatized, man. I mean, we're a fan base that is hurt, and that's why I think that Sunday night game was the way it was, is because we're ready. We're dying for it. We're hungry. We finally see something that's good on the field, and we just can't contain ourselves, man. It's nuts. And again, why focus on other things when the product on the field is so good? Yes, you can nitpick it to death. Why is Crabtree all of a sudden dropping balls? What happened with Carr in Kansas City? You could do these things. Why is Khalil Mack a slow starter? What happened with the ball did it hit the sky cam or a bird or whatever, right? You can nitpick it to death, but at the end of the day, these people are still human. They're going to have a bad game. There's no amount of money you can pay Derek Carr or he's not going to have a bad game. He's still a human being. The product on the field is good. We're relevant. It's December. I mean, think back to how many games you've watched in the last 208 games that after about the second quarter you said, I can go mow the lawn.
Or if I was still awake.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it was like, I remember back in those days, it was like, I wonder if they're going to let Janikowski attempt a 70-yard field goal or not. Like, that was the most exciting part of the game, right?
Yes. We didn't even talk about the Carson Palmer years of hope, right? And then the Hugh Jackson selling 2 draft. I mean,
building a bully and all that.
Oh my gosh,
terrible.
we are sunburned. We are traumatized as fans, and we have no idea what to do. And so I think part of the problem is because we're so used to bitching and getting angry, we've latched on to the Voldemort issue. We just can't let go. We have no idea how just to be happy fans and be like, dude, we're kicking ass, we're relevant, it's awesome. That's it, period. End of discussion, right? So all this to say, man, do not let – I'm trying personally not to let negative Nancy's ruin my experience as a Raiders fan this year. And there's a sad thing that's going on, Murph. I don't know how much you're on Twitter or not. Twitter, I think, is really great.
Well, I was until my computer died. I haven't been for a while, not for at least a week.
I like Twitter. I like social media, but then I hate it at the same time. What I like about it is it's instant connection. It's, hey, you post something great, we like it. You post something great, we like it. You have conversations. You have some interactions with people that you would never, ever interact with. And it's kind of a cool thing. Once in a while you meet people. We just met RJ, a longtime guy in a Madden League we used to run. We met him at a game, at the Bronco game. That was pretty cool, to put a face to the Twitter handle and stuff like that, right? But at the same time, what I can't stand about it is now it's become – it's like, like sports is kind of like it should be like that kid mentality, right? Like, oh, man, Derek Carr's a stud. These guys are studs, right? You root for sports almost like you're a kid again and stuff. It's fun-loving. Now it's not so much kids. It's more like I'm in the know and you're not. And if you don't know this, you're an idiot. Here's what I know. Here's what you don't know. If you don't believe me, you're dumb. It kind of becomes this who knows more than the other person, if you will, and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And it sucks. And it takes away from us sharing this great season together,
Well, and you know what? And I want to answer me this. What's wrong with just being a fan? Like, we when we started this podcast, look, we don't try to pretend like we're something that we're not. You said it perfectly numerous times. I don't remember if it was on podcasts that have been recorded or not, but you've said it that we're going to do this anyways. So we decided to record it because we thought other people might, like to hear some Raider conversation because maybe they're while you're at work or something, or you're on the treadmill or mowing your lawn or whatever, you throw in the earbuds and then you can hear some guys talk about the Raiders. But we don't have any overly well-informed opinions because we're on the inside. No, we're fans just like everybody else is. We just happen to be diehard fans that grew up in the Bay Area that love the Raiders because our dads love the Raiders and we learned it at an early age and we're indoctrinated into the Raider Nation, and it's part of what we are. It's part of us. I mean, there's a handful of things that identify me in my life. I like to think that faith and family is first and foremost, but I also understand that it's football too, and that a lot of people associate me, Murph, with being a diehard Oakland Raiders fan, and I'm okay with that. But it's, but that's it. Like, we go to games, we talk about we play games, but we're just fans. Well, what's wrong with that? Why don't sometimes, and not really a lot of the guys and gals that we interact with on our Twitter page, but a lot of the outside noise, we'll call it, like they try to represent something that's not really there, and it's so obvious, and it's just that's the part of it. It's like, come on, what do you don't have any additional insight. You're not even, like you said, even the beat writers and a guy like Vic Tafer, who's a friend of our show. We've had him on. We've interviewed him numerous times. He's a great guy. And he's always been very forthcoming, and he's a great follow on Twitter. He's at the press conferences. He's at the practices. He's about as connected as you can get. But even he's not fronting, trying to make it like he knows something that he doesn't. And so you're right that just because you have a Twitter handle doesn't mean you're a GM, doesn't mean you're a coach, doesn't mean you're an insider. You're just a fan, and it's okay. There's nothing wrong with just being a fan.
And
just be a fan.
There's no level.
Let's all celebrate it and talk about it together because we all love it. It's we're the community of Raider Nation. We all love it. We all love the same things. So let's just celebrate that and look. I'm not saying nobody's above reproach or and there aren't fair criticisms to be made and things that are disappointing. I get all that. I'm not Pollyanna over here. And I think that those things are definitely fair, but just that over the top, that constant, sometimes I see some and they're just like berating the things that go. The guy, and I'm sorry to pick on him, and I know I've picked on him a handful of times in the show, but the guy that criticizes Derek Carr nonstop, and you're nice enough to trade paint with him a little bit and to kind of engage him. And
I want him on our show. Let's talk about
back and forth. And man, I'm like, what the heck is the matter with you? Like, did you not see the lineage of quarterbacks that we've had that have played for this football team since Rich Gannon? Like the fact that this is the guy now, like that's your hill to die on. Is Derek Carr really? That's the thing you're going to freaking get up. That's going to get you uptight about our football team, please. But anyway, so I'm with you 100% on that. I think that what, just be a fan. There's nothing wrong with being a fan, man. It's okay. It's okay to just look. You can sell tires, counsel kids, whatever it is that you do. Nothing wrong with that, man. But we're still all the same thing. We're just all a bunch of big fans.
Yeah, and there's no level to it, and it really bums me out because Raider Nation right now should be celebrating. We should be the happiest mother effers around, right? It should be happy mother effing Raider Nation right now, right? And instead,
I like that.
Instead, there's
hashtag that.
Instead, there's this darkness. There's this division. I mean, there was dudes on Twitter today cussing each other out over the freaking Voldemort crap and stuff, and saying F Raider Nation, F City fan. Like, it's awful. It is freaking awful. And if you ask me, of course I want them to play in Oakland for the rest of my life. That's where I went with my dad as a kid. But if they move, I'm moving with them. I'm a Raiders fan, right? That's it. And so, first and foremost, yes, Oakland. But if they move, whatever, man. It sucks. But I'm gonna root for the team. What am I gonna do? Not root for them? Go root for the Eagles?
Yeah, we can be a Seahawks fan.
Yeah, how does that even work, right? And I get it. And for those of you fighting for them, keep fighting. I love it. Keep fighting. But don't alienate other people in your efforts to fight for them. You know what I'm saying? Don't alienate people who just because of geography can't be there but still love them just as much as you do and stuff, right? So, all that to say,
hey, look, there's a reason that they say the Raiders travel well.
There's a reason for that.
And I know there's a lot of truth to that, but there's also the Raiders fans represent well. Even where I live in the South, outside of Nashville, Tennessee, I'll run into Raider fans once in a while. There's a ton of them in Southern California. There's a ton of them in Texas. There's a ton of them in New York. I can't tell you how many New York Raider fans I met in my life because of that. The old school guys that grew up, loving the brashness of the Raiders and the Renegades and all that, and how that fit totally in line with their, with kind of their upbringing in the Northeast and all that. Guys that love the Raider fan, or they love the Raider. You see that the Raiders are all over the dang place, man. So it's not – look, yes, they are the Oakland Raiders, and I'm with you, and I hope that they play their next and their last game in Oakland, and whenever that may be, I hope it's a long, long, long time from now.
Yes.
But that said, let's not pretend like the Raider Nation and the Raider brand is not – it's a global thing, let alone a nationwide thing. That's all over the place. So, look, it's not confined to a city. And I think that if you live there, and look, we grew up in San Jose. We grew up just south of Oakland by 40 minutes, okay? So we grew up outside of it. We didn't grow up in Oakland. But, I mean, growing up in the South Bay is pretty legit. there's a lot of, we're about as hometown as you can get unless you're living like, right there in the city. But that doesn't but to those people that are there, like, yes, we want them to be there and we hope that they stay there, but that are you really just an Oakland fan? Like, you're not at a certain point, you're a Raider fan. And I look, and again, I get it. We've been down this road before. You and I have been down this road before. I'll speak for myself. I've been down this road before with the Raiders. I hurt when they left. As a kid, I was a kid when they left, and it hurt my feelings that they went to Los Angeles. Because you know what? Growing up, all I heard about Los Angeles was F the Lakers and the Dodgers, and you know what I mean? It was like, right. And the Rams, and it was like, it might as well be a different state. Heck, Southern California might as well have been a different country when it came to sports, because there was no love lost between those teams, you know, between the Giants and Dodgers and all. Yeah. None of it. I mean, there was some serious animosity, and still is to this day, between the Raiders and the Chargers. It was like Southern California was not. So when the Raiders went there as a kid, I'm like, whoa, like wait, you don't root for LA teams. You can't root for the Raiders anymore. And it would talk about a conflict of interest. It was a hard thing to understand as a kid, but I was a kid, right? So I was, 10-ish years old, all right, when that happened. Well, I'm 43 years old. That's a lot. I've been a Raider fan now for 42 years, okay, or actually probably even longer than that. Probably going back to the womb, right? So it's granted, I don't live there anymore, but I'm a Raider fan at this point. At this point in my life, I've been the fan of this team for so long that to me, it's not as consequential where they're at. Is it still a big deal to me? Yes. Do I still care and love and want them to be there? Yes to all of that.
You can't turn it off, though.
But you can't turn it off,
no.
And I'm certainly not going to begrudge somebody else for feeling different. And for those folks that are Oakland fans and are going to choose to, we can root for the Niners. I mean, but whatever you decide to do, I'm not going to begrudge you. That's your fandom.
Do your thing.
That's you, man. It's your fandom, and that's you be the fan of whatever you want to be, man. I'm not gonna hate on those people for doing that. And I'm with you. And I saw some of those things too, some of those exchanges, not this week, but leading up to it. And I'm like, what the, you're gonna berate and belittle somebody for being a fan of a football team, regardless of where they play, just because they're not playing in the city where you live. I don't know. That to me doesn't make sense. You want to have that vitriol for the city of Oakland. You want to have it for Mark Davis. You want to have it for anybody else that's in play. I get that, but not your fellow fan. Leave them alone, man. What the fellow fan got to do with it? Nothing. We're just loving a team.
It's getting ridiculous, and I feel like we've spent way too much time on it already in the show.
We have.
The biggest thing, I just want to encourage everybody, man. Like, it's Raider Nation. The Raiders are 10-3. There should be no infighting. Abraham Lincoln once said it best about America. America will fall from an inside force versus an outside force. And Raider Nation will stay Raider Nation or we won't. Up here in Oregon, Raider gear sells out more than anything else, whether they're 2-10 or whether they're 10-3. Right? When we went to the Titans game in Tennessee, we heard Raider chants at that game. That was amazing, right? Everywhere we've been to an away game in Atlanta, Raiders represent well. Tampa Bay had to encourage their fans not to let the Raiders sell out. It's Raider Nation, man. And so we're in it. That's it. But let's treat each other a little more nicely, huh? Maybe this is the Pollyanna show. Raider Nation, we need to be more Pollyanna, if you will. All right, moving forward. There was a picture today, Murph. It came on the internet. It showed Derek Carr at practice. Did you see the picture?
No, I did not.
It was a Derek.
I haven't seen anything online.
Oh yeah,
I'm in the dark, man.
Your internet's broken. Your whole computer's broken.
I know.
There was a picture.
I've been messing with it so much I haven't even looked at my phone to look at the stuff on my phone. So I'm out of it, man. I'm in the black hole of the internet right now.
You're the black hole of the internet. So a picture emerged on the internet of Derek Carr at practice holding up his right hand, and there was something on his right hand, Murph.
Was it still attached?
That gave me a little pause, if you will.
Oh, no. Was it a brace?
There was a little tiny splint on his pinky finger, it looked like.
Ah, he must have broke it.
So what are your thoughts? They're 10-3. The last game he played was a Chiefs game. Didn't go very well. Derek Carr didn't look very good in that game. And now there's a picture emerged of him at practice with a little splint on his pinky. Does that significantly reduce our chances? Is it precautionary? I mean, it's been what now? It'll be 10 games since the Chiefs game. He hasn't taken a snap under center, I think, in 2 games now.
Correct.
I'm a little concerned. I'm a little concerned. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it is concerning. I haven't seen any of the reports coming out, so I don't know what Vic or anybody else has had to say on it. I'm hoping that any kind of a splint or anything that stabilizes the pinky for practice is out of an abundance of caution. And yes, you're right. Obviously, it's not disputed that he hasn't taken any snaps under center in the last 2 games. Although we did see him line up under center in the Chiefs game and then back out and then take the snap from the shotgun. I think that was just a way to try to mess with the Chiefs a little bit, which obviously didn't work. But if he is, well, I guess we didn't talk about it last show. We talked about it on this show already. Nobody heard it. We didn't want this thing to turn into a mental thing for Derek Carr. It's okay. Look, if you got an injury and you're better off taking snaps from shotgun, which clearly he was at less of a risk. You could tell that when he took the snaps and when he brought the ball up before release and everything else, he floated that pinky off of there. And with the way he throws the football at the release, the pinky tends to float anyways. So it was just as he took the ball into his hands, it just stayed off the whole time. So now being that he went those 2 full weeks essentially without having the ball taken from under center, does it then start to become a mental thing where, you don't want him to flinch. You don't want him to be thinking about the finger. You want him to be thinking about the play. And so if it got too extensive, then I was worried that by not taking snaps under center, that he would start to get into his head a little bit, that he would start Scott Brocious-ing the throws to first. You know what I mean? I didn't want him to get
nice pull.
Thanks.
Nice pull.
So I didn't want him to get into his own head. So if this week, as you mentioned, 10 days in between the games, plenty of time now. It's not cold. He's back at home. It's warmer.
It's raining. It rained today.
It's raining, and so that's gonna impact it. But it's certainly not Kansas City, right, on Thursday night.
Sure.
So it's certainly a lot warmer, a lot more flexibility to the finger. So I think that at this point he's going to start taking snaps under center. Now, are you just going to send him out there with his stiff finger to do that? Probably not. You're probably going to splint it, as you mentioned, and then he's going to start taking snaps that way. That way, he's not at risk of any further injury going forward. And you know what I mean? Because if he that way he gets over the mental aspect, gets comfortable again taking under center, and then by the time we get to the game, the splint's off, and then here we are. He's back up and running. I would assume that's what it is. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a beat reporter. I'm just a fan. But I think that by deductive reasoning, that would tell you that I don't think it got any worse. Because if he would have broke it, they would have reported that. And knowing how tough it was to get the joint to go back into place, we know that it likely wasn't broken, because if it's broken, the ball goes back into the socket a lot easier. You want it to be tough to pop that joint back in, because that means it's not broken. If there was a crack in it, then it alleviates that pressure and you can just pop it in and out. Well, the fact that it was so hard for them to reset his finger meant that it likely wasn't broken. Now, did it break between then in Carolina to now this week, and that's why it's splinted? Again, reasoning tells you probably not. They're probably just more of a stability thing, again, out of an abundance of caution. That's what I would assume. That's what I would certainly hope for. And we'll certainly find out here in a few more days.
I think the biggest thing is going to be the mental game. When they talked about his throwing style when it first happened, I believe it was his brother who talked about it. He doesn't push it off with his pinky. He keeps his pinky off, but it's still the hesitation. During the game against Kansas City, he was handing the ball off with his opposite hand. Every snap was at a shotgun. His throws were awful in the cold weather. It's all going to kind of,
He was pulling his throws, just like you would pull a punch. I mean, that one that floated over the middle to Cooper, and whether it hit a wire, got, redirected by an angel or a gust of wind, whatever it was that did something to that pass, likely wouldn't have happened if we got a normal 100% healthy Derek Carr out there, because when you pulled that throw, it doesn't spiral tight like it normally would, and it certainly didn't have the now I know it went a long ways, but it didn't have the velocity on it that he normally would. That thing was a big floater up there, man, and that was because, you could see it on film. He pulls it, his hand is wide open. How often do you throw a football, you stop your hand up by your ear and your hand is wide open?
No.
And in the meantime, you look at his face and he was grimacing like he just got punched in the neck. I mean, you know what I mean? So, you're absolutely right. He was definitely pulling his throws in that game in Kansas City. It did something. There was much more than, we would have liked to have thought that it floated on there. But I think with the combination of the cold and the fact that it stiffened up over the course of the week, he mitigated the pain and stuff in Buffalo. But when you get, man, it's cold. When you get cold and things hurt, your hands hurt anyways. Let alone you got a freaking dislocated finger, man. That's, I mean, I get it, don't you? Don't you think that's likely?
You ever hit your hammer in a 20 degree day? Yeah, I get it. 100% I get it. So, do you like the way he handled it? Do you like the fact that when he was asked about it, we all know it played a factor. We all know it was injuring him. Obviously, he wasn't taking snaps under center. They're trying to run a college offense, Do you like the fact that he didn't say anything about it, or do you wish he would have been a little more truthful about it?
Well, I don't think there's any, for that kind of a guy, for a guy that, look, he's a no-nonsense, no excuse. He doesn't want anything to take away from his ownership of his performance. And so knowing that that's his MO and he's that high of character of guy, this is a good thing I'm saying here. Knowing that he's like that, I didn't expect anything different of him. There is a little part of me, though, that, when he's saying, nope, finger's fine, I'm good, nope, finger's fine, it's not. And so I don't know, maybe that's just, just kind of the way it's got to be. But, coming out of that Kansas City game when he just said, no, everything's fine, I'm good, wasn't a finger. Well, come on, Derek. I mean, he's lying. But he's I mean, is he lying though? I don't know. I mean, he's lying. He's lying. I mean, it's so, is that is he going to have to go home and, say some Hail Marys to be forgiven for? Probably, I guess, if he's lying. But I mean, but what else would you expect the guy to do? And I think it's 100% because he doesn't, even if he were to come out and say, fingers stiff, it was tough for me to get a grip on the ball.
Derek Carr blames loss on finger.
Bingo. Yeah. There's no good way for him to address it. Because if he addresses it at all, it will immediately, the media will spin that as an excuse. And he's not going to have that. And so he bites the bullet and he takes ownership of it. And even though anybody that's watched him play knows that wasn't typical Derek Carr, like it was a big deal. Like it made a huge difference in that game and in his play. He was terrible. I mean, he was just flat terrible. He hadn't played like that maybe ever in his career.
Last
right?
year, 2 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even his rookie year, I mean, he made some bad reads, but I don't remember him making just flat bad throws. Like physically, he still was able to locate the ball, and he may not have, he may have been putting it on the wrong shoulder, or doesn't see a Chris Harris over the middle and throws a pick six to lose a game. He would do stuff like that, but he was capable of making them. He was incapable in Kansas City of making throws. Yeah. That was, I mean, you could physically tell that there was something wrong with him. So, I mean, there's part of me that, you kind of wish he could somehow be more forthcoming about it, but I just don't know how you possibly could without, again, somebody spinning that into a negative thing back on him and the Raiders. So instead, he's just got to kind of do it. And what do you think?
Well, the other thing I think too is think if you're Donald Penn. What's that guy? 12-year vet now.
Yeah, at least, right? He's beat up all the time.
Any of the linemen, right? Those, you're not an NFL player in week 15, and you don't have some sort of injury. So, while I get the quarterback, if anything is wrong with their fingers, that's a much bigger issue for the quarterback. If you got a broken finger as a lineman, it doesn't affect you very much. And so what's Derek Carr supposed to do? Oh, I'm sorry, guys. My pinky really hurt me. I couldn't throw the ball. Like, how does Gabe Jackson feel about that? How does Donald Penn feel about his quarterback? Oh, guys, my pinky. Sorry, like he was in a pretty bad spot. Obviously, we know it causes a problem, but just hearing it, if you heard your quarterback say, "Hey guys, my pinky," I don't know, it just sounds kind of lame, So I like the fact that he didn't do anything about it. I like the fact he didn't say anything. I like that he just owned it, because really that's what you want your quarterback to do. You want him just to be like, "Dude, I had a bad game. I was sick to my stomach about it. It was all on me." Because you're right. If he says anything about the pinky, it's already Derek Carr blames the pinky. That's all you're going to hear about and stuff like that. So I like the fact that he didn't say anything. What I don't like is the fact that recently he stated San Diego is a home game for the Raiders. Did you see that?
No, but that's not surprising because
what are you not on the internet?
No, I tell you, man, my time on the internet has been trying to fix my computer. So, I'm not surprised to hear that though, because
let me finish my thought. Let me finish my thought.
I always say that.
I know, but let me finish my thought. You're a fan. You're a fan. He's the starting quarterback. I don't want him to say that. I understand it is, but you just gave a team who's playing for nothing, who has like 19 injured players, you just gave them bulletin board material. Why do you need to say that? Shut up. Don't say that crap. Especially because you're coming off a horrible game. Carr needs to have a great game to make up for the Kansas City game. He needs to have a 300-3-touchdown kind of day and hopefully get pulled early, right? He needs to have a day. Why would you ever say it's like a home? I get where he was coming from and saying it, and as a Raider fan, it's kind of like, yeah, it is a home game for us, but you don't need to say that in public, right? Why give the Chargers anything? We only beat them by a botched field goal last time. Granted, our teams have gone in two different directions since then, but still, I don't like that he said that.
Yeah, it's a fair point, and you're right. And here's the old adage to me though is that when you're a professional athlete, if you're not getting up, hyped up, fired up, well prepared for every single game as much as you possibly can be, and it takes the opposing quarterback to send you over the edge to where you play better and your team wins, then that's all that I need to know about your football team. So,
well, yeah, but
you know what? I mean, seriously, think about it though. I mean, like you're going to play this game 16 times throughout the course of the year, and lucky enough, if you're to make the playoffs, you're going to get some postseason reps too. But I mean, like that's if you ask, the Hall of Famers, that there wasn't bulletin board material. They're ready. Every single game, no matter what.
I get that.
Does Steve Smith Sr., you think you need to give him bulletin board material to fire that guy up? Heck no, he's coming for your throat every single game, regardless.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
But I do understand, though, but you do make a fair point, though, but do you want, we just got to talk about the humility of a guy like Derek Carr. Do we want him out there saying, oh, yeah, this is a home? And the answer to that question is no, and I'm with you. And the reason why is because it implies that you have an expectation of rolling. Now, look, are you going to have an expectation to win? Sure, you should. If you don't have an expectation to win every time you set on the field, then what the heck are you doing out there? You should have an expectation to win, and I appreciate Derek Carr's confidence that he's going to go in there and that they're going to win because he's coming to play, but not because of some perceived home field advantage or for some other. That to me I'm with you. That sends a message of I don't know, like more of just an expectation and a little bit of arrogance, which is not in line with him. That's not him. So maybe it's he's feeling himself a little bit. Maybe he's feeling good this week at practice because now his finger's getting back healthy again. He knows he's going to return to form a little bit. He knows that playing in San Diego, it really is. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. It really is like another home game when you look at the amount of fans down there. I mean, so that's probably all it was. I think that if you were to get him in a moment aside, he'd probably tell you that he'd want that one back. I'd be willing to bet that he's that kind of guy that, probably in the moment said what he said, heck, at 25 years old, I'm certainly glad that nobody had a microphone in front of me. You know what I mean?
True,
I'm barely getting away with it at 43, let alone, you know what I mean? So, look, he probably popped off a little bit. He'll probably want that one back. And, is that in line with, Hall of Fame quarterbacks? Not really. You know what I mean? You never heard guys like Joe or Tommy Boy. They don't haul off saying that kind of stuff. They let the scoreboard talk for him. And I'd imagine that as Carr progresses through his career, he'll end up more and more that type of a guy. So
you give him a free pass. You give him a free pass. On this one?
Yeah, I think so. Look. It wasn't overly inflammatory. You know what I mean? It wasn't like he, called out Phillip Rivers for having 19 kids and throwing more temper tantrums than all of them combined. You know what I mean? It wasn't like he did something like that, So I think he's fine.
All right. I'll give him a free pass. I know I got a little man crush on him, but you don't be. But I will say this: you're right. The guys who are good, it doesn't matter to. But the Chargers,
they're not good.
They're not good. So they need something to rile. Don't rile up somebody who's already a sleeping freaking doormat. Shut up. All right. So we play at the Chargers at Qualcomm, right?
Yes.
Do you know the last place the Raiders lost a playoff game was at?
Yeah, it was at Qualcomm in a stinking Super Bowl when Derek Brooks picked off every Rich Gannon pass in that game.
Do you know where the Raiders are going to play and potentially clinch their first playoff berth ever since that loss?
It's beautiful. It's poetry.
Is that?
And we got the people want to complain?
That's what I'm saying. It was like this stuff was written for storybook, man. The Raiders' last loss in the playoffs was the Super Bowl at Qualcomm Stadium on January 26th at 2003 year. Game time was 3:26. Temperature was 81 degrees. It was set up to be a beautiful day. My dad made spaghetti. Oh. It was a beautiful day.
My wife left our home. My wife was pregnant with our first son, and she left. She went and stayed at a hotel, and she said, I don't want to be around you. You just have your friends over, and you guys enjoy the game. She's like, I'm out of here.
So yeah,
it was me and Uncle Mark and about three of my buddies, and it was over quick. If you remember, I know you do.
20-3 at halftime, right? So that was the last time they lost in the playoffs, and we have a chance to win or to clinch clinch playoff berth for the first time in 208 games at Qualcomm Stadium this Sunday. That to me is just unbelievable. I don't know how to take it. I don't know how to process what the Raiders are doing right now, Everywhere I go, everybody knows me as the Raider guy. They all know I'm a Raiders fan thick and thin. Man, the Raiders are doing great this year. Man, you must be stoked. Man, this, that, and the other. And then I'm like, yeah, it's kind of cool. Like, I don't know. Like, it's weird as a sports fan because you're like, if the Raiders win the Super Bowl, it doesn't really affect my life very much. If they lose the Super Bowl, it doesn't really affect my life very much, other than my own thought process. And I guess bragging rights at the gym or bragging rights when you're playing basketball or bragging rights with your buddies. But that's about it, But it is kind of cool that they're in it and that there's potential there and stuff, I don't know. The concept of winning in, I mean, do you think realistically there's any chance the Raiders don't make the playoffs this year?
No, I think it's near impossible. And in fact, they don't even have to win this week. I mean, we went through a few different scenarios where, obviously the Raiders win and they're in, but they could lose and then, there's a handful of other
Patriots beat the Broncos.
There's a handful of other teams that win and lose, and Marquette King marries a Kardashian, and you know what I mean. Like a handful of different things can happen still, and the Raiders still make it. So I mean, I think that it's very slim at this point because what the next wild card team has got 8 wins. So I mean,
Broncos,
they'd have to lose out all 3, and somebody would have to win out all 3 in order to catch them. So no, I mean, listen. We just talked about how devastating it has been at times to be a Raider fan. And don't we'd feel like, Cleveland, Indian, and collectively Chicago Cubs fans if the Raiders lose out and not only miss the division, but miss out on a playoff spot, but I don't think it's very likely. I think that, you're talking about a completely beat down Chargers team, I don't want to say a beat down Colts team, but certainly a team that perennial underachievers.
Mm-hmm.
Their defense is awful. Franken Booger, you know what I mean? That guy would,
Mm-hmm.
I think the thing, he not only does he struggle with his ball control, but he struggles with that damn hairline. Drives me nuts watching him. It's like quit it with the comb over, Andrew. Just shave it off. So I just but going to Denver, look, that's a tall order. I know we've had success there, even in recent history. Last year, none better than Khalil Mack getting 5 sacks against, Brock Osweiler and his giraffe neck and all that. But, odds are, look, and they're going to go 1-2 at a minimum, more likely 2-1. And frankly, it's very, very feasible that they win out. And and the idea that the Raiders are going to be 13-3, really? 13-3, like we're already there? Like that it's
but where are they going to play in 2 years?
Oh, who cares, man? I don't care if they play in a freaking, I don't care if they play in Milpitas. Jeez,
At
you
least
know what I
that'd
mean?
be Bay Area, right? At least that'd be Bay Area.
Yeah, 13-3, man. That's just it's a beautiful thing. So no, I don't think there's any shot that they miss out on the playoffs, and I think that there are too many scenarios that set them up to where they're in. Now that said, I don't want to go back to Kansas City. And I don't think the Raiders want to go back to Kansas City.
I want to go back to Kansas City and beat their freaking face.
You like all that stuff. You like all that redemption and all that. You know what? I'd rather just not have to worry about it. I'm sure Pittsburgh coming into or Tennessee or something, or the Texans or who. I'd much rather have a game like that where the Raiders are hosting somebody like that than to us to have to get on a dang airplane again and go back and have an expectation to beat the Chiefs because, it's kind of an old adage that, it's tough to beat a team 3 times in one season. But when you look at the numbers, it doesn't really reflect that as much as people may think. I think the last when we looked, it was 13-7 are the teams. If the team that won twice already prior is 13-7 in the third game. So while granted, that 13-7 sounds good, but when you're a collective 40-0 going into that game, the fact that you're 13-7, it's a little bit tougher than people expect, but still the numbers favor that team winning a third time. So, and the fact that, look, they waxed us when we played them the first time. Granted, Carr, his injury greatly impacted the outcome of this game, but they kind of had their way with us for the most part. And, aside from listen, they lost Derek Johnson. I think that's going to definitely hurt their running game, and hopefully it's going to hurt their run defense game. Hopefully enough, frankly, to where the Titans can sneak in there and beat them this week. Mm-hmm. Titans already took care of the Donks for us. We need the Titans to take care of the Chiefs for us and do us another solid. But that said, the Raiders having to go back to while they may be weak there in their run defense, they're also going to be much, much better in their running game because Jamal Charles is coming back, and I know you think he's kind of seen better days, but listen, that's still when that guy is on, he can be one of the most electrifying players in the league.
He's not on.
But he's got our number, and that's the thing that scares
not
me.
On now.
Well, but that thing that scares me is that he's had career games against the Raiders, and that is frankly scary to me. So
today is the 3-year anniversary of his epic.
What did he 5 touchdowns on 3 screens? The only guy that scored 2 touchdowns in one play.
50 fantasy points. Yeah.
Unbelievable. But you know what I mean? So let's win the West. Let's win the dang West. Listen, I'm gonna be happy Raider fan regardless. Heck, I'm a happy Raider fan now. Listen, and do I want more? Sure. Do I want him to go undefeated? Sure. Do I want him to go to New England and to beat Tom and to end his legacy the same way that we started it? Heck yeah, I wanted
you get me excited. Where's my wife?
That's beautiful stuff. Do I want to see all that? Yes, but look, as of right now, the fact that they're on the verge of just making it to the dance. Heck yeah, man. I don't care how pretty the girl is at this point.
So, this week, Chiefs play the Titans. Obviously, we're rooting for the Titans.
Come on, tighten up.
Do you know who the Broncos play?
No.
Patriots.
Ooh.
Who do you root for?
Ooh.
Who do you root for?
Well, I don't think we're gonna catch the Patriots for home field advantage.
It's only one game. Only one game.
Yeah.
I think I read it a couple weeks ago, and I don't know if it's still true or not. We would hold the tiebreaker with the Patriots if we finish with the same record.
What's their final three?
The Patriots?
Yeah, do you have it?
I have the Broncos up and the Chiefs up. Let me look at the Patriots real quick.
I would look at it myself, but my computer is a boat anchor.
I know. So the Chiefs' final three is Titans, Broncos, San Diego. That's not bad.
Yes.
That's not bad.
That's the Chiefs. What's the Patriots?
New England Patriots. Patriots go Broncos, Jets, Dolphins. Please.
See, we're not catching them. Okay. So
if they lose one, if we win 3 and they lose 1, we catch them.
They're not losing. They're not going to. Come on. They're not losing one of those games.
You don't think they lose to the Chiefs? I mean, the Broncos?
No. To what the Broncos turned that stink fest they turned in against the Titans. I don't think
Yeah, that's true. They don't have an offense, man. Their offense sucks.
They just don't. They don't have a running game. They got a questionable quarterback. They got a great defense, but when the defense is out there do you know the reason that all this stuff happened with the Titans? Because the Titans started a drive on like their own 3-yard line with like 9 minutes left on the clock and gave the ball back, or like 12 minutes left on the clock and gave the ball back to the Broncos with like 3 minutes left after scoring. Like they freaking just marched down the field and the defense was just out there all game long. Like, and it's so, the Broncos, if their defense is you keep them out there, their offense is certainly not going to score any time soon. They don't have that explosiveness, which is surprising because early on they did. Sanders and Demaryius Thomas were getting loose. Remember, heck, they did it in our game.
Yeah,
they got loose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But they haven't been here lately. They're struggling. So I don't see that there's any way that. And listen, and Tommy Boy's on a roll, man. You want to talk about a team that's putting it all together. I mean, just, I'm not going to turn this into Patriots Fest.
Yeah,
but,
easy. I know you will. Okay. So we don't catch them. We don't catch them.
They don't catch them. But,
okay.
But what we can get, but let's lock up the 2 seed. That, I think, is definitely within our reach and definitely winning the West.
Win the
West is definitely in our reach.
Chiefs play Titans at home, Broncos at home, and then at the Chargers.
And listen, they're going to get knocked off at least one of those.
Did they lose one?
They're going to get knocked off. I think so.
They've already lost. They lost to the Texans, Steelers, and Bucks.
Yeah, see, they lose stupid games, man. Like they did, and like look at what we did to the Bucks. Granted, I know the Bucks were different when they played the Chiefs versus us, but it was still only a handful of weeks apart there. And I think the Chiefs I think they just got our number. I just don't think that we do great against the Chiefs. I think Andy Reid's just kind of got our number. So yeah, I don't think that they're going to play nearly as well against other teams as they do against us. And especially, again, going back to, I said I want to say it again, losing Derek Johnson in the middle just absolutely crushes their run defense. And they're going to go up against a team like the Titans that's all they do.
And Justin Houston didn't practice today because of illness. He didn't practice today because of an illness.
There you go. So another ding on him, right? So, yeah, I think going against teams that run the football, I think that they're going to definitely be susceptible. Now, against the Broncos, that's not going to help. And against the Chargers, heck, I mean, I don't know. Not Gurley, but Melvin Gordon. I mean, didn't he get hurt too? Or is he still?
I'm not quite sure.
I don't remember either. But anyways, yeah, I mean, even still, nothing flashy there. So I think the Titans are probably going to be the game. I think they're going to pull it off, man. I think the Titans could beat the Chiefs. I think that, they went in a couple years ago and beat them in Kansas City. They're not going to be, and the Titans were a much worse team back then too. So I don't think they're going to be intimidated. I think that I think that they can go in there and do it and take care of business. So that's going to open the door for the Raiders. It's definitely going to open the door. And, again, is it feasible they could go, run the table here? Yeah, I don't think it's, it wouldn't surprise me. And now, granted, I'm thinking with my with my heart a little bit there and not my head. But, I mean, don't you think? You think it's possible?
That we'd run the table?
Yeah.
No, I don't think it's out of question. I think we can easily run the table. I think everything depends on what I assume is Derek Carr's smallest digit. Everything depends on Derek Carr's pinky. Okay, everything hinges on his pinky, man. If he's the Derek Carr in Kansas City, we're done. I think it's potential we lose the next 3 games. If Derek Carr is the Derek Carr we've seen in Tampa Bay, 500 yards, no picks, I think we are potentially in the AFC Championship, Super Bowl bound. So I think everything hinges on that freaking digit of his.
Oh.
And if Ronnie Lott had his say, he'd probably say what?
Cut it off.
Cut it off, right? He'd probably just tell him, cut the damn thing off.
Oh, wouldn't that be just something, man?
Right?
I mean, about...
That's Raider...
Oh.
I don't even want to talk about it, man.
I know. Let's not lend any credence. Don't send out any negative vibes. Quit it, because we're sending out these over to airwave. We're putting that in people's ear holes. Don't do that.
Raiders are 10-3. Broncos are 8-5. Chiefs are 10-3. All we need is one more win than the Chiefs, and we have the 2nd seed locked up. I hate how the playoff system is right now because we have a better record than Pittsburgh and a better record than Houston, and they're sitting ahead of us in the playoff race right now. So, Raiders, take care of business, and your 2nd seed is what I'm saying.
That's it right there. Take care of business, and yes, and they're going to be just fine.
Yep, and
they're going to be just fine. And you know what? We'll get Osemele back. They'll be able to bring in somebody else to come in and help out Austin Howard, so he won't be left out there on an island. They were having to bring in a fullback and tight ends and stuff to help double in the middle because Osemele was gone. Well, now with him coming back, that will help out. So Austin Howard won't be alone. Then, Olawale can go out there and help him block. They'll be a lot less vulnerable to the pass rush, and the running game will be drastically improved, so we'll be a lot less dependent on Derek Carr to throw the football 50 times in the game. It ain't going to be a case of that. Murray and Richard, who I think is – talk about a pleasant surprise, man. That kid
Richard,
is fantastic. Yes.
Love that guy.
Yes.
And he's such a
great 1-2 punch.
He's a good change of pace from Murray,
Yes, I think so, man.
He's a scat back kind of guy.
Absolutely. I think it's great. So I think we're gonna be drastically improved in the run game in San Diego and not have to rely on Derek's, hopefully smallest digit for his sake and his wife, I guess.
Speaking of smallest digit,
it's not the size of the ship.
Austin Howard might be the smallest digit on the offensive line, huh? That guy's...
Oh, he's terrible.
What are you going to do? I don't know. I hope Watson comes back soon, but he cost us some games, man, if you ask me.
You notice how every time they show pictures of the Raiders' offensive line,
he's never in them.
Talk about how great they are. He's never in them.
He's never in them.
He's terrible, man. He's terrible.
He's out getting everybody else coffee.
You know what's funny is that too. And then when I was still on the interwebs, there was some pictures of I forget if it was probably the Raiders official Twitter. We're putting out calls for people to retweet to get Pro Bowl votes for all the offensive linemen, and they would include Austin Howard's name in there. And people were responding to it and go, I'm not retweeting this as long as Austin Howard is on your list.
He's
terrible.
I love him because he's a Raider, and, he's one of the 32 best right tackles in the league, if you want to say as far as him starting and stuff like that. But gosh dang it, he stinks. He is our weakest link for sure. One more quick thing about the offensive line. Why do I know that Konnichiwa Osemele had a kidney stone? Why do I know that? Have we reached the point in sports and social media where a guy that I've never met, he doesn't know anything about me, we just know this dude had kidney stones? Like, shouldn't that be a private thing? Like, why do I know that? Why do I need to know that?
Well, I'm surprised they didn't roll down with undisclosed illness.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm surprised they went kidney stone. But listen, I've been around a handful of people in my life that have had those things. Living here in the South, a lot of the folks grew up drinking well water, and they're prone to getting kidney stones because it's that mineral buildup in your kidneys, and if you don't drink enough water to flush that stuff out, you can get them, and sometimes you can get them anyways. They are one of the most painful things, and it can be in a real acute pain. Like, it can just come on there out of nowhere, man, and it will just, it'll put you on the floor, man, a grown man like Osemele. And so, yeah, I think that it was unfortunate the way that it came down and happened so suddenly, and obviously took him out of the game. But yeah, so I mean, yeah, full disclosure there, right? That they let us know exactly what was going on with him, which is a little surprising. But
I don't want to know that.
It does bring up an interesting point, though, is that if the Raiders do play in Los Voldemort one of these days, they didn't report that injury. They didn't report the injury accurately. They were late on the posting of it, and while it was certainly not of any intent or any they weren't trying to skirt any rules or do anything that wasn't compliant. Still, they didn't follow the rules as far as getting the injury reported as timely as they were supposed to, because of I think it was just because of the suddenness of it all. And so, but that said, what if that happened and they're playing in that city?
We're not speculating. We're not speculating.
Well, but what I'm saying,
because here's what happens.
What's the report say then?
Seth Robert dropped a crucial game-winning touchdown catch. Was the fix in? Derek Carr bobbles a snap. Was the fix in? Jack Del Rio calls a pass on 3rd and 1 instead of a run. What's the fix in?
Austin Howard jumps off sides.
That's expected.
On third. Hey, you said he's one of the 32 best in the right tackles in the league. But I'm saying you might be 33, 34. Because, listen, I know that even you could stay in your stance until you hear hike.
You know how sometimes when guys are so good, they motivate you? Well, Austin Howard's the exact opposite. He sucks so bad, he makes me think I can play right tackle in the NFL. Yeah. All right, on that note, we're out of time. Kind of like Austin Howard's out of time on this team. Drop somebody else for his spot. We are the Dagos. The podcast is called Raiders Ripatare, Riportare. Look us up on podcast, The Addict, Stitcher, iTunes, all those places.
Tune in.
We're on TuneIn as well. Appreciate all the listens too. And again, guys, this is our mantra as the Dagos. We're not analysts. We're not beat reporters. We're not anything else other than just simply fans of a team that we've basically been rooting for since we were in the womb, in utero. And that's it. And I encourage you guys all, don't pretend you're in the know. Just love the team. Just root for the team. It ain't about who knows more or who knows this or that or the other or what side you're on. Root for the Raiders. They're 10-3. It's been 208 long, miserable games since they even mattered. So let's enjoy it. And that's it. Josh, any final words?
Some people known, Sonny, are known for their broadcast excellence. Us, not so much. But for sure was past tense because we lost him a few years ago. But Bill King, longtime announcer for the Oakland Raiders, the Golden State Warriors, and, of course, the Oakland A's for 25 years, getting inducted into the Cooperstown Pro Baseball Hall of Fame, or Major League Baseball Hall of Fame, whatever the heck it is. The guy's getting inducted for broadcast excellence, and that's old school. He's played at the intro of our show called the Sea of Hands play. Stabler, man, just one of the all-time greatest announcers ever, and, proud that he was the guy that called three of our favorite teams. So congratulations to his family and to Bill King getting inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame.
And on top of that, Greg Sager passed away today. Long time.
Yeah.
And that guy had a kind of a good career, if you want to talk about
sure did.
And stuff like that.
Yeah.
Really eccentric kind of fellow and stuff.
Yeah.
So in honor of that, we're not going to have an outro song. We're just going to kind of have it be silent for a minute as we prepare our respects to Greg Sager. So again, Raider Nation, they're 10-3. We win and we're in. Good things are happening. Focus on the field, and let's see how far we can take this magical season, huh? We'll be back next week. Thanks for tuning in.